At the Target Center, Game 3 of Spurs T-Wolves. Minnesota entered 3-0 at home in these playoffs, but they've yet to host that fella, Victor Wembanyama. They've also yet to start that fella, Anthony Edwards. Came off the bench in games 1 and 2, got the start here. But it was a hot start for the Spurs, namely Wemby. One of those half dozen times per game. You're like, what do you do?
Nothing.
Not a darn thing. First player in NBA playoff history to average 15 points, 5 blocks through his first 6 playoff games. Had the block there, actually had 5 of them in the game. And oh, by the way, the first 7 points for San Antonio. At this point, it's Wemby 7, Wolves 1 after the free throw. Game 3 winners and tied best of 7s advanced 73% of the time. So this is pivotal for Ant, and he knows it. He had 13 in that first quarter. Wolves within 1 after 1. Edwards carrying them, but other guys getting involved late first half. Julius Randle passing a French test over Wemby. Randle had a dozen, those allowed us 2. Tied at 51 at the half. Then in the third, it was like a superhero summer blockbuster. Alien versus Ant-Man. Wemby, 3 of 5 from 3. We're going to show you all of them. Spurs up 6. And then Edwards, answer, splits a double team off the window, whatever. He had a team high 32. Wolves within 5. But more Wemby. Minnesota's been physical with him all series. Unbothered. Switches hands midair. Spurs up 7 after 3. To the fourth. Wemby heats up on offense. A barrage et trois. He scored the first 7 points for them. Also had 16 in the fourth. But Minnesota, they've been terrific in the fourth quarter all postseason. Here's a third chance bucket. Spills to Gobert. Stifle Tower went for 13 and 7. Wolves within 3 after the made free throw. But too much Wemby. Over the Gobert contest, Wemby goes for 39 points, 15 boards, 5 blocks, making playoff history in the process in a 2-1 series lead.
I think we showed some strength, during this game, some relentlessness. But we still got to prove to ourselves that we can sustain that. Sometimes it feels like being in a more hostile environment, in a harder environment, forces us to step up our game and be on our criteria even more.
Every time we scored to cut the game within 2, they got 2 offensive rebounds for 2 threes, kick out threes. I think that's really what hurt us. Like we gotta get those defensive rebounds, man. We gotta box them out. Number 30 is crashing every time, and number 1 is hell on the offensive glass. So we gotta box him out and then box everybody else out and gang rebound.
Well, Wembanyama's history, to which I alluded, he's the 4th player in NBA playoff history since blocks became official in 1974. 35 points, 15 boards, 5 blocks in a game. The other 3, you know them by their first names. Hakeem, Shaq, Querim, now joined by Big Vic.
Ooh, no words minced there by Chris Finch, the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves. Michael Wilbon, this series now heads to Minnesota with the series tied 1 apiece. Who do you think has the edge?
Normally coming off a situation where the underdog steals game 1 on the road, I'm going to say that team. I would say Minnesota, but I'm still looking at that team without DiVincenzo for the rest of the season. And Ayo, while he has now come back, he's not back yet. And if you had those 2 guys and you work them in and you can put them on Castle and you can put them on De'Aaron Fox and you can have them available, I'd say Minnesota, given they also have gone to the last 2 Western Conference Finals, I'd say Minnesota, with that series swinging in Minneapolis, has the edge. But they don't have, at least Ayo seems to be back. We don't know how effective he's going to be. It's his first playoffs, real playoffs. And DiVincenzo's out. So I'm going to still say San Antonio, given the way they responded in game 2, and also Wembanyama's complete hatred of losing. Yeah. That's what I love. That trait about him, we talk about all the physical attributes, his emotional and psychological makeup, and it just reminds me of the great players of all time. And Perk, you played with some guys like these, and Stephen, you and I have covered these guys forever. The guys who hate to lose and are going to drive their teams to respond after a loss, I'm always going to lean in favor of that, and that swings it back for me. Okay. All things considered to San Antonio.
I think it's funny because I thought about you seeing Ayo in that game against against the Denver Nuggets, us as Bulls fans. If only.
Makes me crazy.
If only that could have happened for our team. But Perk, how do you see this series with Minnesota now? It tied up 1-1 with the Spurs. It goes up to Minneapolis. Who has the edge?
the Timberwolves have the edge. Last time I checked, they got home court advantage. And I agree, Will Barn, that, you know, Wemby has a hatred for losing, but someone else on the other side also has a hatred for losing, and Anthony Edwards. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are fantastic at home. They have developed an atmosphere over the past 2 to 3 seasons in that arena where it's a tough place to play in. They're undefeated at the crib this year, by the way. And we all know, because Wilborn, I've been watching you since this morning. I watched Greeny and Wendy and Monica and Allen. No one brought up home court advantage. No one brought up what it feels like in role players playing better at home. I said this a few days ago. San Antonio was in a must-win situation. They was going to come out with a certain level of desperation and tenacity and come out with an edge and come out with, and like Fish said, they pumped them. But at the end of the day, you heading to Minnesota. Did you hear Anthony Edwards' post-game interview outside of what we played? He said he expect the crowd to be rowdy and loud. They going to be drunk. It's going to be rocking. This was his comments. So what he's saying is, we're coming home. The series is tied 1-1. This is a dangerous place to play in. This is not the Portland Trail Blazers, and no disrespect to them. This is Anthony Edwards and the Minnesota Timberwolves. Jay McDaniel has proven he plays better at home offensively. We saw him in the closeout game, 30-plus points. Rudy is going to play better. He wasn't all the way there. Julius Randle, he's the emotional guy. He feeds off the energy of the crowd. I'm not saying this may not go 6 or 7 games. I'm not saying that. But if I'm Minnesota, I got on that plane last night real comfortable and cool.
Well, I'm not going to go that far.
I am.
When you get your ass kicked the way that they did, you don't get on the plane comfortable. You get on the plane with an attitude. You know what? We got something. I mean, they came back and smacked us. And our coach and our star said we got punked. And we got to do something about that. You're not feeling comfortable after an ass whipping. You're feeling urgency. Because what you don't want to happen is for San Antonio to get game 3. You see what I'm saying? Even if you split, you're almost better off losing game 4 than you are losing game 3. You lose game 3, San Antonio has the momentum, and they push you on the verge of being on the brink. That's problematic. You don't want to be in that situation when Minnesota, after you just won game 1, and then all of a sudden you get smacked around 2 consecutive games. That's not, the back and forth was one thing, but to get smacked around back-to-back games, I don't think that will bode well for Minnesota. So my answer to this question for the moment is going to be, San Antonio. I'm looking at them as having an edge right now because they've got Minnesota on its heels. Even though it's 1-1 and it's going to Minnesota, you've got Minnesota feeling an urgency to winning game 3 because of the manner in which you lost game 2. That's how I view it.
Well, it's going to be a physical series, and now the Spurs are really going to be tested because what did we witness last night?
Right.
We saw people ready to get their feet hot on the floor. We saw some technical fouls.
Right.
We saw some noise talking.
Right.
We saw a whole lot of that type of energy. So now you have to travel and go on the road. And I'm a little disappointed in you and Wilborn.
I was getting ready to say Wilborn. Put Wilborn up on the camera, please, because I want to see this man when I say this. Yo, Wilborn, we need to be disappointed in this brother. He all over the place. Let me tell you this. Wilborn, you think you all over the place, basically what my